Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Visibility Made Easy. So, Visibility Made Easy, what's this all about? Visibility, especially in your vibe, is how you stand out so that people see you, hear you, they feel your vibe, and you're remembered, and you're even more visible. So if this is your first one, my name's Jenny Kovacs and I'm nicknamed the Queen of Being Seen because you being able to spread your ripples far and wide is actually what's really important to me. And every weeknight, Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. GMT, 11 a.m. I think it's EST, and 2 p.m. PST. I think I've got that there or thereabouts. I'm here sharing tips on how you can make visibility really, really easy in your life, in your business. Now, this series is really aimed at people who are either in business, starting a business, and maybe you're the person that wears different hats. You know, maybe you're the person that wears the marketing hat, the sales hat, the, what other hats do you wear? The author hat, the promotions department. And I think life is complicated enough as it is. So the tips that I share here are aimed at making the complex, marketing, branding and getting out there as easy as possible. Because as the old Abbey National advert used to say, life is complicated enough. So if you are watching this, just know that you can see me, but I can't see you. I see a number count, but I can't see who you are. So unless you come and say hello, then I can't interact with you. I can't make this interactive, and I can't use your businesses, your lives as real life examples. So already Alan's saying, hi Jenny, and I'm saying hi to Alan back. So I'll put my big glass of water down. Take a sip of water. And I thought tonight we will talk about not only visibility made easy, but visibility made easy when you want to speak in your authentic voice. But what does that mean? Many of us have got a story to tell. We've got, gems of knowledge, juicy knowledge to share. And sometimes we struggle in the guise of being professional. We struggle in the guise of being professional, of knowing how best we can do that as a normal human being, not some kind of false, stiff, wooden something or other that's standing up on a stage or in front of a room of people. And for some of my past clients, it's even been they have a job within an organisation. Maybe they work in the sales and marketing team, maybe they're heading up that sales and marketing team, maybe they even sit on the board of directors or part of the executive committee, and they need to be able to convey what's going on for the company, messaging, branding in a way that's credible, not boring, but also is authentic and sounds and feels like a real person. And this is one of the things that so many people that I meet struggle with. So if you want to know more about how you can use your authentic voice live in a room or on camera behind video or something like Facebook Lives, I promised you on Monday that I would let you know more towards the end of the week. So if this is you and you'd like to know more, then, definitely click subscribe at the top here, ask for notifications, and anytime any news comes out, any Facebook Lives or anything that I share comes out, you'll get notified of it. And more specifically, tomorrow I'll be able to tell you how you can get more if this is something that you want to do. So with that in mind, I am going to be sharing 3 things that are really important to consider when you're looking at speaking out in your authentic voice. So just for a moment, I'd love you to do this. I'm not getting you to make a love heart. I'm actually getting you to make a triangle. So if you make a triangle in your hands, just absorb that triangle. Absorb either how it feels to do that. So forefinger and thumb on each hand together to form a triangle. Either look and have a look at what that looks like, or feel what that feels like, and just commit it to memory. There's a really strange reason I'm asking you to do this. within that triangle, I want it to be a prompt to help you remember to do something, because quite often a lot of these tools and techniques that I share are very, very easy. They're very, very simple. They're so simple that often people either forget to do them or think, oh no, it's got to be more complex than this. When you are forming that triangle, there are 3 specific areas to look at, and I'm just going to tell you what they are off the bat, and then we'll speak a bit more about what they are. And if you want me to delve deeper into one or more of those areas, then as I say them, type in the box the name of the area and please. So there's 3 things to pay attention to, especially when we want to speak to an audience of 1 or 1,000 in our own authentic voice, feeling just like us, not feeling forced into a box, not feeling like we have to say something in a certain way we do, but just being able to say it in our own authentic voice with our own vibe. So at the top of the triangle, I would say is the focus. So it's where you're focusing your attention on. The second part of the triangle is like your body language, you know, where are you, how are you standing, what are you doing with your body language? You know, Morabian did some really interesting research, and people have been questioning this research of late, but he said, you know, the thing about let me get the figures right, 7% are the actual words you use. The next percentage, which I think was 38%, is all around our body language, and then 65% is you know, kind of what we're saying, the context of what we're saying. But actually, there is another part of what you can do with your physiology, with your body language. And as speakers, a lot of people focus on being in the audience and looking at the speaker and what body language they convey. Very few people look at the internal workings of what's going on for them as an individual and how it comes out. So, you know, having done over 200 Facebook Lives, for example, and having made in excess of, I reckon, over 2,000 videos, I know that there are videos that I've posted on my YouTube channel, and there's a number count there, but I also know that there are videos that haven't gone that way, that I've made for online courses, I've made for personal clients, I've made for mastermind groups I've run, and I know that having made over 2,000 videos and done over 200 Facebook Lives, that the body language is very, very different to, you know, when we're live and showing up in a room full of people to when we're on camera. There's a vast difference. Some of the elements are the same and they can kind of cross over, but usually they're different. And one of the things that differs greatly is body language. And people often say, oh, what do I do with my hands? And, you know, where should I look? And should I sit a bit sideways to the camera and look to the side? Hey up, Ian. Ian's joined us, everyone. Hey, it's Ian. He says, hey up, Jenny and Alan. Good evening. Oh, with that excitement, I just dropped my post-it note with my notes on. You can't actually see anything on there because I've written it in a very funny colour. But those are the only notes I use for these Facebook Lives. So, hi Ian. We're in good company with Ali and Alan for tonight. So if you know of anybody who likes to give presentations, here's my belief. I love giving presentations. I love giving talks. I like public speaking. But I always think that there's room for improvement. Always, always, always. So if you know of anyone else who has to public speak as part of their job, they're nervous about public speaking, they love public speaking, they like speaking to one person, they maybe like speaking on video or don't, then I'd invite you to click on the share button and share this. And interestingly, because of this particular subject tonight, this would be a really great share on your timeline, because most people have something around public speaking or being at work and having meetings or anything else like that. So Alan's saying hi to Ian. See, they're a really, really friendly bunch. So the other thing, the other part of that triangle, so we've got where we put our focus, we've got our kind of our body language, our physiology and our body language. So those are 3 areas that can sometimes scupper our chances of success. And a lot of people focus, as I say, on the speaker at the front of the room, and tonight I want to talk about just one element of that, and it's the body language bit. But rather than focusing on you being in the audience, looking at the speaker, what's their body language, what they're doing with their hands, how they're standing on the stage, are they standing still, are they walking, are they sitting, are they breathing, are they shoulders up, shoulders back, are they doing this, are they doing that? None of that is actually important. The piece that I think for when you're speaking out authentically that is really important is how you feel inside, because how you feel inside leaks out. It leaks out in your body language, and unless you're SAS trained, it's actually very difficult to control how that comes out. So the fact that I'm comfortable sitting here, you know, broadcasting to you guys means that I don't have any closed body language, I don't have any nerves, and when this bit of hair decides to stick out like this, I can either choose to leave it, flick it over the top of my head, or brush it down and not feel like that's it, I've got to delete the video. It means that I can come and broadcast this, which essentially is available to anybody in the world who wants to watch it, and I don't feel nervous about the fact that I haven't had my hair done, I don't have specific lighting, I don't have makeup, and normally I don't have flowers in the background, but this week I've had these gorgeous flowers up here, gorgeous tulips in a lovely red colour, which replaced the yellow roses I had last week, and I had yellow roses the week before. Also behind me is Jenny Doll, who reminds us that no matter how serious our subject matter is, that we can still have fun, still be credible, still raise our profile, and still be professional. So, a couple of things to think about for your own body language, if you like, when you're speaking. Now, let me explain why I feel this is really important for anyone that's watching this, whether live or on the replay, to really absorb this and take note. When, you know, this year, 2017, there's been so many kind of like, you know, in the outside world, in politics, TV, in the news, there's been so many strong messages. And as the days go on, as the weeks go on, as the month goes on, we are only going to be bombarded with strong messages. Now, your message will not stand out above anyone else's message if it's kind of, you know, if you're keeping your head down and you're trying to emulate other people, you will only succeed to just blend in with everybody else. Now, I'm not talking about being an extrovert, I'm not talking about standing out, I'm not talking about showing off. What I'm talking about is speaking in a voice that the people who are supposed to hear your message will be drawn to it like a magnet. It's not about perfect articulation, it's not about enunciation, it's not even about counting your erms. People don't care about that. You can your way through a whole speech. Nobody cares about how many erms you've said unless you're going to an organisation who's specifically worried about that. The thing that I want you to get is that your voice is important, and your voice is important now. And if you've got any fear around public speaking, any fear around video, any fear around presenting, now's the time to start addressing that. So there are a couple of things you can do with your physiology, and here's like a really quick and dirty tip for you. So I want you to think about a time when you felt like the utmost confidence. Doesn't have to be in speaking at all, it could be anywhere else. It could be that you were at a child's birthday party, it could be that you were at work, it could be that you just won an award, it could be that, you know, that kind of defiant, no one's going to mess with me, I feel good. So I just want you to recall that, and it will be something that you've probably recalled and then gone, no, not that one. Exactly that. Just for a moment, allow yourself to get back into the feeling of that. What was around you? Like, what could you see around you? What could you hear? How were you feeling at that moment in time? And just indulge yourself, just for a second. If you can recall a feeling that makes you feel great like that, just give me a thumbs up or a love heart across the screen so that I know that you're still with me and I'm not running full steam ahead and leaving you behind. And if I could thumbs up my own Facebook Live, I would, because I would say, yes, I definitely remember that. Okay. So, in that moment that you're recalling, just think about, like, how were you sitting or standing? Go back into that memory. How were you sitting or standing? How were you feeling? You would have had a nice feeling somewhere, literally on your body. Where about on your body was it? Was it a soft kind of a feeling? Was it a harder kind of a feeling? Was it a goose pimply kind of a feeling? Where was it? And literally, because remember, I can't see you and no one's watching you, if you can literally just take your hand and locate wherever in your body that feeling was and just immerse yourself into it, you'll notice something. You start to relive that feeling. Now, I remember the first time I realised that this was a really powerful technique in changing my own physiology was when I remembered going to my nephew's 4th birthday party. You know, I remember all the balloons, the kids screaming and running around and eating cake, and the giggling they were doing, tugging at my sleeves, asking to show me stuff. You know, my little nephew was like, Auntie Jenny, come and have a look at this. Meet my friends. And like, these 4-year-olds were so adorable. Everyone was laughing and having a good time. And as I recall that, I just felt like warm and fuzzy inside. And I remembered thinking, like, how comes I can just recall that memory and feel so good? And here's the thing. When you're recalling any memory, your brain doesn't know that it's not really happening. So for those of us who've been nervous at some time, worried about what we're going to share, and you might be a really confident public speaker, but be sharing a story for the first time that you're worried about your family hearing or your audience hearing, you've never shared it before, it feels too personal, it feels like you shouldn't be sharing something authentic because it doesn't feel professional or too much information. It doesn't matter what the reason is. When you're like going through this emotion, your brain doesn't know it's not happening. So it floods your bodies with all of those pheromones and all those lovely, those lovely like hormones and lovely good feeling vibes, and lets you know it's happening again. But here's the rub. As human beings on this planet, we choose so much to go for the more negative emotions. You know, the ones that say, but I can't public speak, I don't speak very clearly, people won't understand what I'm saying, I speak too slowly, I speak too quickly, my accent's too strong, English isn't my first language, I can't do it because, you know, I've got people in the audience that know me, my family, if they heard me talking about this, wouldn't like it. And before you know it, you start to tell your brain all this negative stuff, which is reflected in your body language. Even as I'm recalling and telling you, you know, that story and kind of recounting some of the things that our bodies could have been saying to ourselves, you may have even noticed the way that I sat. I started to slump, my shoulders went forward, I looked down or I looked away, and I just looked different. So one of the easiest things you can do, one of the easiest tools you can carry around in your arsenal is taking care of your body language, taking care of the language that you use, the physiology, so the body language that you exude without trying to control it. I'm going to tell you a story about the pointing thing and doing that in a moment. Or it could be the focus. And usually when you're particularly bad or nervous at any form of public speaking, presentation on video, you know, standing up in a meeting, giving a sales pitch or anything else like that, it's because this triangle, your focus has to be on the thing that you're worried about and nervous about, i.e. how badly it can go wrong, how you sound funny when you speak, how people don't ever listen to you, how you're not really, you've got a face for radio, you know, whatever your thing is. Then the next piece is the physiology. And your physiology will start to mirror it. You'll feel very closed, you'll feel very static, you'll feel really wooden and stiff. And by the way, if you've got any questions about anything that I'm saying, please type them in the box. If you've got a talk coming up or you've been putting off a talk and you want to know anything about, you know, how you can use what I'm talking about here in your own circumstances, please type in the box here. So there's the physiology, the body language. Then the next thing is the language. The language we use with ourselves often leaks out. You wouldn't believe how many times I've seen public speakers come on a stage and say, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. If you're going to flood your body with anything before you go and speak to a room full of people or an auditorium full of people, aren't you going to want to choose something that's a bit more positive than, hello everyone, I feel so nervous, I'll probably mess this up. That happens because the internal stuff leaks out to the internal dialogue, which then goes out to the external dialogue. So there's a really been widely viewed talk given by, I think he was the CEO of Sony or Ericsson, I can't remember, called Michael Bay. And Michael Bay went to go and promote one of his, fantastic products. And as he went to do this press conference, he slowly unravelled. And interestingly, moments before he walked off the stage muttering something like, "I can't do this," actually I could see back a few minutes before where he'd already started to unravel. You could see it in his body language. It was something that I could, really jumped out. So pay close attention to the language you use with yourself before looking at honing and perfecting the language you use with other people. This is why if you say a few or you've got some sort of verbal tic, or you say really, really a lot, or anything else like that, for me, it actually doesn't matter. You get in the practice in speaking your truth, in being authentic, in telling your story, in sharing your juicy goods and juicy gems with other people in the world, for me, is far more important. The articulation of how you do that isn't the main thing. So I said a few moments back that I would talk to you about the pointing piece. So this, to me, is a really interesting piece. So it's reputed that when Bill Clinton first was going through his presidential election campaign, that he's a very passionate man. Anyone who's met him has said he's very, very charismatic, and he was talking away and he was pointing away at the camera like this, Well, when I do that to you, it kind of looks a bit weird if I kind of do this. Maybe it looks a bit aggressive, and it's not something that I would naturally do. So the person that was reputed to be working with him had said, look, you can't keep jabbing at the camera. And if you're going to keep jabbing at the camera, here's what I suggest you do. You take this finger, you bend it in, and you hold it in. So instead of every time you want to point, instead of pointing at your audience, you're doing this. Now, isn't this something that you see a lot of politicians doing when they speak? But try it out, no one's watching. Just say any sentence you want to out loud and start doing this motion with your hand, and notice how unnatural it feels. Notice how my voice even changes in tonality because I'm having to remember to do this. Notice how I start to lose eye contact with you because I'm so busy concentrating on doing this, and when I should, pump my fist up and down. But the funny thing about that is that when people started seeing him talking this way, it seems like politicians worldwide, including people like Gordon Brown at the time, started speaking and doing this. Well, when you're trying to deliver an important, authentic message, and all you've got on the back of your mind is how to move your hand and stop yourself from, being less credible, it kind of puts you off. So my thing is, if you, like me, speak with your hands, speak with your hands. If you, like me, have verbal tics and you say words like really, really a lot, don't focus on that, because where your focus goes, you'll have more of it. In fact, anytime I'm speaking publicly or presenting or running a workshop or training and I talk about the the number of go up in what I'm saying. So if you focus on that area and focus on something that you don't want, you're going to get more of it. When you're looking at your physiology and you're focusing on the internal stuff that's going on and why you feel so nervous and what doesn't feel good, you're going to get more of it. You're going to get more closed, and people can't quite put their finger on it. They just know that it doesn't feel 100% to them. And then if you're looking at the language that you're using and starting to feel negative inside, you'll start to language negatively on the outside. And you'll start to say things that don't serve your audience, like, I really hate public speaking, but I'm doing this anyway. But what that does is it starts a perpetuation of your language, what's going on inside, what then goes on outside in your focus, and you get into this vicious triangle. Hey, France Lees is on, everyone. France Lees, we're with Ian, we're with Ali, we're with Alan, and there's a few more people watching. I don't know who they are. So if there is anything that I could urge you to do, and even if you're a very seasoned public speaker, even if you run meetings all the time, and I present and speak all the time, I don't necessarily have nerves around it, but I'm always looking for ways to better what I'm communicating with my audience. Then have a look at this triangle. Have a look at where your physiology and your body language is. Have a look at where your like internal dialogue is, your internal language, because it affects and has a direct correlation with your external language. Have a look at where your focus is. Are you focusing so much on what can't happen, why it can't happen? There are things that are sometimes in our shadow and not in our awareness, where we keep saying to ourselves, you know, I can't do this because, or when I was younger, everyone used to laugh at how I speak. And we turn the light back to us. You know, if you want to hear a really good way of not being fearful about speaking or presenting, go back to, I think it was last week's, the week that I did on fear. I think it was last Monday, so it would have been, Monday probably Monday the 6th of February, where I talked about fear. It's been one of the most watched episodes of the Visibility Made Simple, and it's a really good one to rewatch, especially if you find fear coming up around presenting, around video, around connecting with somebody, around a sales call, in fact a fear around anything. So as there's no questions, I'm going to love you and bid you good night. Sorry, I've just made my phone darker now and wobble. I was just trying to see if there are any more questions on the screen. There I am. I've come back all nice and light. Thank you so much for joining with me. I'd love for you to share this with anyone else who needs a gentle lift up, a gentle way to say, look, I can do this. Remember, do not take yourself so seriously. Tell them that Jenny told you. Tell them that Jenny Doll told you too. Thank you so much for joining me. Lots of love to you all. Bye for now.